Anyhow, I figured it was time for an update. I don't know if it's been a day or two since my last video, but here we are, whatever day this is, doing another video. I've been working on the wings, the outer wing panel specifically. Well, I guess, I don't know, since my last video, I don't know. I've all but completed infilling the middle section of the wing. You got your middle section, you got your left outer panel and your right outer panel. You know, it's a big wing. Well, I mean, relative to, I don't know, a 172 scale DC-3. Relative to that, this is a big wing. This is 132 scale. So it's about, I don't know, it's not quite 3 feet. It's probably 32. I don't, you know, how long is this wing? I don't even know. Let's see, that's a foot. Where'd we go to here? Right there. Okay, so that's 1 feet. That's 2 feet. 1 feet. 2 feet. So, yeah, it's almost 3 feet. It's about 35 inches. So that's wider than I thought it was. I thought it'd be about 32. So 35 inch wingspan on a 132 scale DC-3. All right. So anyway, center panel. I'm leaving the middle section of this out where I've drilled out for the wiring. So we've got there you go. Let's see, the hole is down the channel there. So the wiring is going to come in from either side up into the fuselage through this area here. So I need, as soon as I pull the wire, and let's talk about timeline. Oh yeah, here. So here's the underside of the left wing panel is completely infilled. I'm going to underside infill both panels. So both these will be infilled on the underside. And then I'll infill the top. Leaving again the center section open. So on, for instance, the right upper panel, these sections will be left open. These can be closed, but these will be left open in here. And then we'll consider the wing ready to be shaped at that point. So shaping is going to be the leading edge and trailing edge, and the ailerons will have to be shaped, sanded to size, sanded to profile. We'll have a leading edge profile on here, sanded into this wing. Now I'm going to run into a problem, and I told you about this a little bit. I don't remember what part of the blog it is, but or the vlog. Anyway, I made a mistake, an unforced error on the leading edge here. If you recall, I might have mentioned it. I used the wrong strip stock on that. I was supposed to use this strip stock that I used correctly on the right panel, but on the left panel, for some reason, I didn't check, and I just grabbed a piece randomly and assumed it was right, and it ended up being wrong. I grabbed the wrong stuff, and I started. It should have been this stuff. And it wasn't. It was the little, the smaller piece that was meant for the rear, the tailplane, the horizontal stabilizer leading edge. So I used the wrong stuff. Didn't use this. So I stacked another piece of material on top of it here, just out to the point where, you know, thicknessing of the wing should take us down into what I used. The thickness this way is the same, so all it was the height is off. So, but what I'm going to run into is a problem in this section right here. I'm making a lot of ruckus here, but so this section right here might dip. I might end up with a dip as I have when I started carving, just to see what I had. But I'm not sure. I think the sanding will probably take care of this and smooth and even it out, because you can see all this material has to come off. If we look down along the front of the thing, remember I'm holding the camera here, so it's not terrific for this description, but we're going to do it anyway because that's what we do. So maybe you can see it here, maybe you can't. The wing ribs don't meet at the top of this spar. They come in, you know, below it, and they get lower as you go toward the leading edge. So all of this is getting carved off right down to the tops of these wing ribs. So all this leading edge material is coming off, and here you can see it just meets this rib, which is kind of what I was shooting for when I did my fix. So this strip was used to help these ribs meet the top of the spar, which they do here. This is a little low, this is low, and this is even lower. So you can see how it tapers downward to the wingtip. It also tapers slightly upward on the underside, not as much. This is more, here, and I'll show you on this. So the wing profile on the underside, you can see this is where the wheel is. So this is the underside nacelle, underside half of the nacelle. You can see how that wing leading edge is supposed to be on the underside, rounded up like that. It's almost like a spoon shape right there. Whereas on the top profile, on the top half of the wing, you can see how it comes down and is more of an airfoil shape on the top half than it is on the bottom. And that's why on the bottom, the wing ribs actually come up almost flush. They're almost flush already with the bottom of the leading edge. So this is just going to get rounded up here, whereas this side is going to really be carved down onto the tops of these ribs and profiled in shape to match this profile, which is what you want if we want the nacelle to sit on there without any gap, which is what we're shooting for. We may not get there. Filler, white glue, there are lots of things I'm going to end up using to make sure that we get a nice clean surround where this nacelle joins with the upper wing half. Same with the bottom. It's going to take a little bit of finessing to make that joint look smooth and clean. And we'll do the process on camera. I'll show you what I'm doing. Not going to be any secrets. So anyhow, this is an update. This is where we are. So the underside surface of the left wing is infilled, and I am now working on the underside surface of the right wing. Okay, and as you can see, we're cutting off chunks and then cutting the infill pieces from the chunks and sticking them in the holes and doing that crazy thing that I do, rather than just sheeting these. And as I've talked before about the difference between sheeting and infilling, when you sheet the wing, you're changing the shape of the airplane. You're thickening the part. So even if you go all the way down to, let's say you don't want to thicken the part, you don't want to make the wings bigger or the fuselage larger than the plan, you're going to go with the thinnest material you can use if you're going to sheet the thing. But when you're sheeting it with that thin material, let's say you decide to use a 32nd or a 16th, even a 16th thickness of balsa. Well, okay, so you get that on there. Now you've got to sand it and surface it. You've got to prep it for paint. You don't want the wood grain to show, so you're adding filler and you're sanding. And you're sanding on that 16th material and taking it down, maybe just down to paper thin material. It's still covering your airplane, but it's so thin, you can just picking up the airplane and put your finger right through it. That's one problem with sheeting. And if anybody out there has sheeted an airplane and then sanded on it, you know what I'm talking about. You've probably sanded right through your material, I'm sure. I did it because that's how I used to think it had to be done. So infilling does two things. One, it doesn't change the shape. The parts you're making are still going to fit exactly to the plan. They look and can be profiled exactly to the plan. They can be sanded indefinitely. You're not going to sand through a 3/32 that's infilled, because all you're trying to do with your sanding is get to the tops of your ribs and stringers. And if you're just getting a nice smooth surface at the tops of those, and you've got 3/32 inset infilling these openings, you're not even come close to sanding through this material. And it's stout, and so I can't tell you how strong this is. This thing is, it's light as a feather, and yet I could probably whip it, bash it against this this countertop, this my desktop, and hardly do any damage to it. It's that strong. You have to see it to believe it. Grabbing it and twisting it or trying to break it, it's strong stuff when it's infilled with this 3/32 balsa material. Balsa is a hardwood. It's not a dense. It's not heavy but it's considered a hardwood. And I didn't know that until I started looking into it. So anyway, yeah, that's why the infill method works. I think, for me anyway, it's better. It's tedious and it's a much longer process. Obviously, it's not for everyone. Sheeting is super fast comparatively. You still have to fit your seams together when you're sheeting something, fit all the joints together, but it's much easier to do, especially if you're wetting the material, wetting your balsa before you apply your overlay pieces. But inset, infilling, granted it's more difficult and harder to stay with it, but it's worth it in the end if you think about durability and fidelity to the plan and keeping the airplane to scale throughout. Also, if I'm sheeting it and making it larger, some of these other parts are going to be having to be cut to fit. I'd rather not cut these things up to get them to fit. I'd rather have them come close and then use filler to make them fit. In other words, enlarging them rather than trying to cut and shrink them and shape them. They're already shaped, to fit the plan, to fit the profile. So that's another reason why I do infill. All right, I think I've said this on a couple of videos during a few of the builds. It's a theme I come back to because people asking why would you do that? It's like it seems like it's an awful lot of extra work. I get asked that all the time, and yes, it's a lot of extra work, but this is why I do it. So if it's worth it, then you do it. In other words, the right answer isn't always the shortest, easy path. That's not always the right thing to do. At least taken into context with whatever you mean by the right thing. So sometimes the more difficult path is going to be the better choice, if that makes sense. I'm not trying to philosophize on you, but here's your update. Now I started rambling again, so hey, we're good. Fuselage, I still coming back to that and sanding on it, still rounding it up. We go back and forth once we get other aspects of the build done. I did add the discs to the left wheel as I had to the right. Again, these are going to be painted, in that aluminum paint because they are aluminum parts, cast aluminum, I guess, on the airplane. Right. So anyway, here's your update. Thanks for watching. I hope everybody's having a great run up to the holidays and so on. All the best to everybody. Have a great day.